No, hop on up. Oh, we're recording. Hop in here and say hi.
My name is Glenn Johnson. I'm from the Satellite Rotary Club and a member of San Dimas Lodge.
I'm Isabella Foster. I'm current secretary of the Satellite Rotary Club of Military Family Support and reelected for next year too.
And I am Dominic Torres, the current chairman of Satellite Rotary Club of Military Family Support. And then Raymond is somewhere. There you are. Would you like to say something? Well, that's a new thing. What a novelty. All right. And then we have our guest speaker, who I'm just going to run right into, and I'm going to slaughter that name. All right. Claude Schmid. Okay. Well, let's start with Colonel. It looks like here in that one. Colonel Claude Schmid from the U.S. Army, retired with Veterans Last Patrol. Last Patrol connects veteran volunteers to veterans in hospice. We cooperate with medical providers of hospice care to connect volunteers to the patients so that their last patrol isn't alone. It's hard to overestimate the importance of a friendship during end-of-life care, and Last Patrol brings new friendships when friendship matters the most. And with that said, sir, go ahead and take it away.
Well, thank you for allowing me to speak with you today. It's 6 o'clock your time, 9 o'clock here in the East Coast. But, and so if you see me dozing off a little bit, it's because of that. But I'm going to try to stay alert and give you a quick introduction of what we're doing with Last Patrol. And as you mentioned in the introduction, our focus is end-of-life care. We started the nonprofit about 4 years ago when we learned that in the end-of-life field for veterans, that there were a lot of needs out there. And I'm going to go into some of that needs. Basically, what happens is there's about 1.5 million Americans that go into hospice care every year, and approximately 10% of those are veterans. And the hospice care today is done in a combination of inpatient facilities around the country, care facilities that may be in your neighborhoods, and at home. There are hundreds of hospice care providers around the country, and they care for patients in communities all over the nation. And what happens is when folks go into hospice care, they tend to be rather quickly somewhat isolated. The providers are dealing with them from a medical standpoint, but most providers are seeking folks to volunteer and visit to befriend these patients. And when I looked into it a little bit a few years ago, I found that there was a great shortage of veteran volunteers. And what that meant for a lot of veterans did not get companionship from other veterans during their end-of-life care phase. They therefore fell out of the veterans community and didn't get the attention that we feel and that veterans feel that they need when they hear about the situation. So we decided to start this program. We call it the Last Patrol. Last Patrol stands for patrolling. And as veterans, the veterans community understand the concept of patrolling, whether it's air, sea, and land patrols. And when you go into end-of-life care, that is your last patrol. It's your final fight and your last patrol. And
Sure.
with teamwork, you are. Did I hear a comment?
Oh, no, you're great. You just grab a second there, pause. Go ahead.
Okay, so that's kind of what we're trying to do. There's 3 elements to our mission. One are the friendships. So we're looking for volunteers, friends of veterans to visit facilities, visit with hospice care providers, and try to bring companionship to veterans that are on their last. Secondly, we have an honor ceremony program. So in an area when we've got a group together, a group of veterans together, we encourage those groups to do what we call an honor ceremony, which is basically a celebration of life for the veteran in his home or in the facility where he's being cared for before he passes away, to just kind of recognize him one more time for his service to the nation, him or her, to his service to the nation, And then last, we have a support program. Sometimes veterans that are in end of life care have unique crises, whether it's something to do financially, something with their pets. And sometimes they may have a last wish, something they want to achieve one more time or see one more time. And so we tried to help them realize those three goals. So friendships, honor ceremonies, and support is our mission. You can learn a lot about us on our webpage, which is veteranlastpatrol.org. We've got a quarterly newsletter that we put out about activities that we have around the country. We have stories there about different events that we've done and visits that our volunteers are making to veterans that are in end-of-life care. Those stories are put on our website. They're also on our social media. We're very active in Facebook, Instagram, and the rest of them. So if you're into those types of social media programs, please check out Veterans Last Patrol, and you can learn more about us there. I'll just give you a couple of examples of visits of my own. It's probably one of my most impactful friendships in hospice care was a gentleman who had been a World War II veteran. He was a Navy landing craft operator, and he participated in the landings of Normandy on D-Day. And during those landings, the story he shared with me was an adjacent landing craft got shot up pretty bad. And this gentleman that I met went into the water to try to rescue some of the crew members of the other landing craft, and he was able to save one fellow Navy crew member, brought him back into his landing craft. They then established a lifetime friendship, and he sent the gentleman that I got to know a box of cigars every year on the anniversary of D-Day for about 45 years after that great invasion. So they'll tell you great stories like that, great wartime stories, but they'll also talk to you about other things, totally unmilitary related topics. They may talk to you about their last experience in their civilian jobs. They may talk to you about their first romance. This gentleman talked a lot to me about his first kiss that had taken place like 60 years ago with the lady who became his spouse. But it was so important to him in the end of life, remembering that story, and wanted to share that story with a new friend, that he would repeatedly tell me that story. So they'll talk to you about all kinds of things. And we just feel that there's a brotherhood among the veterans community. There are a lot of veteran nonprofits out there, a lot of great work being done, but the end of life care portion of a veteran's life might be a little bit forgotten, a little bit of a difficult thing to get involved with. So the community tends to shy away from it somewhat, but we're asking folks to get involved as groups and try to make sure that Veterans Last Patrol is not alone. That being said, I'll be happy to answer any of your questions or talk to you more about what we're trying to do.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. You do have a question right at the gate? All right, well, we have got a question right here in the house. So this young lady right here is gonna ask you one right there, sir.
Thank you for your time, Colonel Claude. I had
Yes.
3 questions. It says on
Okay.
our page here, you have to be a veteran. Do you have to be a veteran to be able to do end of life care, or can anybody do it?
No, you don't have to be a veteran. Supporters of veterans, friends of veterans, family members of veterans, we take them all. Well, we look for volunteers to help us with a number of different things. One are those visits that I was talking about, making individual visits to nursing homes. We've got a program, for instance, called Adopted Care Facility. What that is we're asking volunteers to look around their neighborhoods, find a care facility, nursing home type of facility near where you live, and adopt it. And by adopt it, I mean maybe make a visit there on a weekly basis, ask about veteran patients they may have, find out if there's any of those patients are, say, have a particular need, loneliness, just wanting some companionship. Perhaps help with some entertainment. Most of these facilities are looking for regular people to come in and do music or sing or other ways to keep the patients there active and engaged. So afraid to answer your question is no, you don't have to be a veteran. If you're interested in our mission, we'll be happy to try to help you find something meaningful.
Okay, and then where, if, I know you're not in California, but is it on the website where I can find out where to assist to volunteer? And then I guess what's closest to us? Hopefully in the state.
Yeah, well, our headquarters in South Carolina, but we actually have volunteers in 24 states right now, including a number in California. So we have some activities out there. We have also in Oregon and Washington State, we have some activities there. So first thing to do is if you go out to our website, veteranlastpatrol.org, you'll see there's a contact tab there. So if you would fill that out with your name and contact information, then someone will reach out to you. And there you go. It's up on the screen. Somebody will reach out to you and talk to you about in more detail on how you can assist and where you are, based on where you are, what some ideas are to get you engaged there.
Cool. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Who's next?
And with that said, I will ask anybody else have a question. I know Raymond does, but basically I'm not asking Raymond. I'm asking Glenn if you have anything to say. Okay, because I know that Raymond has what I would say a bevy, if not a plethora, and my pen has been stolen, of questions to be asked. And with that said, Raymond, take it away.
Well, maybe a couple, but how'd you get involved in this, Colonel? How'd this start for you? How'd your journey go?
Well, the story there is that I was on my last job in active duty. I was the chief of the Wounded Warrior Evacuation Program, which was the operation that brought our casualties back from Iraq and Afghanistan. I did that job for about 3 years, and so I had a distinct honor to meet several thousand of our wounded men and women coming from the battlefields and talk to them and learn their stories, what happened to them, and talk about the care they're being given, and learn more about why they're served in the first place, what made them join the military. And in the course of that, one of the things I learned was that the people in great adversity, they need companionship more than anyone else. They need somebody to talk to, they need somebody to listen to them. And as I was retiring, I started thinking about that, what else can I get out? What else can I do to continue to give back to the veteran community that has some connection to my experience as a wounded warrior? And it suddenly came to me that, what about dying? That's a case of great adversity. What happens to veterans when they're going through the dying process? So I began to look into it a little bit as I described, and I started volunteering myself with a hospice care provider, and this was in New Jersey at the time. And didn't take long before I found out what I mentioned earlier, that there's just a shortage of veteran volunteers, and there's just a lot of lonely veterans going through end-of-life care. And I think the veterans community should do more to bring them attention.
So you sat with a veteran during this process. What's it like for you?
Well, most volunteers end up telling us they get more out of it than they feel they're given, because they are doing something meaningful. They get a chance to make a new friend. They see the benefit that relationship has with their patient that they're visiting. So it's, I'm not going to say it's an easy thing to do. That's why it's one of the reasons it's a challenge to get people to volunteer for this work, because you are going to visit somebody who's in the dying process. And it's not necessarily just a few days. It could be, some of my cases they've lived for a year. So hospice can be quite an extended period of time. But you're getting into something that the person is declining and is facing death. So for some people, it's hard to do, and we understand that. But for me as a volunteer, and for our volunteers in general, those that do get into it, tend to find that they get a great deal out of it, and they really are pleased that they can reward and bring some joy to these veterans one final time.
Do you provide any training to your volunteers?
We have a little vetting process we do at our organization. Essentially, we're somewhat of a recruiting arm for local hospices. So what we would do, as I was talking about, we would refer potential volunteers to a hospice or a care facility in their communities. Most hospices do have quite extensive training They're required by the state. There are state regulations of California. There would be some training that you would go through with a local hospice care provider. That is usually a combination of online and face-to-face training about the process and the do's and don'ts of dealing with patients that are in these situations. So the answer to your question is yes. It's not so much done by us as the national nonprofit. It's done locally based upon the requirements there.
My last question, describe an honor ceremony.
An honor ceremony is an agenda that varies place to place depending on the number of people involved. But basically, it's the idea there is to present through patriotic gifts and appreciation and recognition of some type to this veteran as a final act of ceremony. So it might include a congressional letter, it might include some patriotic handcrafts, a quilt. It may include some entertainment like musicians. It includes cards. We get one thing that anybody can volunteer for is help us spread the word that we need cards of gratitude. We collect cards of gratitude from Americans around the country throughout the year, and especially during the holidays. And these packets of cards that we assemble are sometimes presented during honor ceremonies as well.
Thank you. Well, thank you both for your service and your continued service. And that's my questions, Brother Dominic there.
Well, as always, I can always appreciate Raymond because he definitely always has something to say, but they're always very worthwhile to hear. So thank you, sir. I appreciate that. You're more than welcome to stay on with us from here. We are going to touch on a few things that our Rotary is currently doing, plus our parent Rotary, the Rotary of San Dimas.
Thank you for having me on, and please reach out to us if you have any additional questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. With that said, we're going to hop right into our Find Master. And I always know to look right over the lady in charge.
Okay, so I missed the club assembly meeting, so I'm finding myself $5 for that. I was in the ER, but I'm still finding myself.
Still fine.
We're good.
Fantastic. I'm going to find myself $5 for not knowing she was in the ER because I was unaware of that statement. And Raymond did a great job of keeping his mouth closed. So I will find myself $5 for that on top of it. So. All right. Raymond, do you have something?
Are you gonna, did you guys know about digital donuts yet? Have you heard about this?
We have not got there yet tonight, but we are getting there.
Okay, never mind. Then I'll wait. No, that's all, keep going.
Oh, well, wait, hold on. I'm gonna find Mike Wallace, $5. No, I'm gonna find Mike Wallace, $10, Mike, if you can hear me, for not being here. Mikey W.
And he missed it for missing an excellent speaker. That's what he should get fined for.
Although I appreciate that Mike is definitely in the car right now driving and trying to.
I am currently driving. I just left a meeting. I'm not sure I can accept the fine because I'm being fined for not being here. However, if I was not here, I wouldn't be fined.
I would find a reason to fine you, Mike, regardless if you being here or not. And you know that statement. I'm gonna fine you $10 for not being in your office because I've been trying to harass you for about 2 weeks and you haven't been there. Every time I drive
there, I've been there every day.
How dare you? I look in your windows every day like a lost kid looking at a Christmas display. How dare you? That's what
All
I'm
right,
saying.
I will accept the fine.
Yeah, I knew. I wasn't really that concerned. So Mikey W. All right, let's just get right into it. I'm sorry, Mike, are you coming here or are you going home?
I am driving. I won't be home until probably 7.
Oh, so you're a bit out. Got it. All right, well, wonderful. With that said, we're just going to jump right into teachers mini grant presentation recap. Now, I can read this whole thing unless Raymond wants to sum it up. I don't know. I look at Raymond and I don't know if he gets excited about us reading stuff or not.
I think you reading stuff is extraordinarily exciting. Let me just put a picture up and we'll tell you what we did. that you guys all missed. Or you missed there. We would have loved to have had you there. I know Glenn and Isabella was there because they're in the picture. Let's see here. So
Glenn's not even here now. It's just
there
a
we go.
cutout.
So teacher mini grants, we gave actually 5. There were 4 who showed up, and we gave about a little under $2,500. St. Andrews Rotary has been doing this for going on about 30 years. We've given out about $100,000 over those 30 years. Mike was there, Sylvia, and so yeah, that's over. We'll do it again next year.
I love everything about that statement. So I'm not going to read this very long mini grant statement. Raymond, you did a phenomenal job. Phenomenal job. With that said, I did have ideas, and that was what I wanted to talk about that evening, but my wife made it very clear that I had to be home. So I'd feel bad for you, but I live with her. So with that said, I'll wait till the end of the thing, but we'll have a discussion about what we discussed that one night, the other night, about how to raise a little bit more money. And I've already spoken to a couple of people about it. So let's just jump right into our Krispy Kreme fundraising group. With that said, we do have a link. I don't know exactly where it's posted. There it is. My understanding is half of it goes to us, half of it goes to Krispy Kreme itself. This will help our 29 Palms group.
So you know what's sort of cool about this? Not only is it helping, here's the Facebook page. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so down here we sent requests to different Marine Corps leagues to assist us with this, and we already got one here from a Louisiana group, an American Legion post, our co-hosts on this event. Obviously the San Dimas Rotary, and we got a call today also from a Marine Corps league in Pensacola, Florida. So this is not only a way to raise money, it is a great outreach. And I will be sending about 600 emails out to various Marine Corps agencies or Marine Corps groups. And I hope that, you guys will send these out, invite your friends and get up busy on this, because we get 50% of the profit, and that's a lot of profit. That's a good rate.
Absolutely. So yeah, no, that's wonderful that someone like Krispy Kreme would work with us in that way. That's absolutely fantastic. Obviously, as you saw, there is a link there. As we just saw our Facebook group and making that all happen. With that said, we're jumping right into our food drive. And I have a whole bunch of numbers on that. All right, so we had a committee meeting the other week. We had a little bit of fun talking about that. I talked, just so you know, Raymond, I spoke with Tony again about that money. So what he ends up doing, obviously it's his money, but I did speak about what you and I spoke about, X amount towards Patrick and 2-9, and then us with the fees. So that was our dues, I should say. So now we'll see what Tony does, but I gather whatever Wayne says is what Tony will do. So that's going to be the case. Oh, trust me, that was made abundantly clear because we ran each other again over lunch one day. And I heard all about it.
Well, then I'll put a bug in Wayne's ear that, what Tony should do.
Oh, you absolutely should. Trust me. I promise you. I was literally I was in a bar selling something. Oh, there's Tony. And we ended up having a conversation. Yeah. So whatever Wayne says, whatever, he's very fun.
Both Glenn, that's Wayne Schmid that he's talking about. So both and I, if we tell Wayne that his son should be a satellite Rotarian, apparently he will become one. So we will talk to the master on Monday night.
Fantastic. Yeah, he likes that man quite a bit. That's what I gathered over a beer. So, but with that said, we have our whole food drive set up. So we do have our community meetings, which is going to be on it's going to be this month on the 21st. And then our actual collection date will be on the 11th. And then our delivery date will be the 13th. I do not believe I don't have where the collection will be. I assume that's going to be the Masonic Lodge in San Dimas, correct?
That's correct.
But yeah. So that's going to be on the 11th. We'll deliver on the 13th. Okay, yeah, so we're just looking at when the truck will be there for sure. Right then.
I don't know. We haven't talked to Mars yet. We haven't heard back from him. So we're still looking for transportation, quite frankly. We're gonna need transportation on the 13th. That's still an issue.
And the 13th is what day of the week?
That's a
Monday?
Monday. That's a Monday.
So, I guess my question becomes, who are we waiting on then?
Well,
For the
if
truck.
Mars doesn't do it, then we've got to turn to the sheriff's department to see if they can bring a truck. If the sheriff's department can't bring a big truck, then I think we can get a dump truck from one of the lodge members, but that won't even be enough. We're gonna have to think about a way of renting a U-Haul probably.
That's what I'm thinking. So like a box truck of some kind. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay, so the 7-ton. Yeah, I mean. Okay, but. Okay, yeah, no, and that makes sense, but I mean. To be very fair with you, a 7-ton. I understand it's 4 tons of food, but I've seen my fair share of Marines in a 7-ton back in the war in the beginning, and I don't feel like that would really fit all the food we're talking about.
No, but if we were to get that as a start. And
Uh-huh.
then we were to we could pick up the dump truck. And then a couple of pickup trucks, we could make it this year. But then we have next year, we'd go back to the command and go, hey, we need 3 trucks and a Humvee for a convoy. Because that's what'll do it.
Okay, yeah, and that's fair enough, because we can only take what, 4 to 5 tons discussed, right?
Yes, we're taking that amount. And so what we're doing, I think what we're trying to do is break in and then create this, partnership. And then when we do it again in September, we'll know what we're doing.
Fantastic. Okay, so then with that said. I mean, very frankly, doing a lot of ifs on things that we're gonna try to get accomplished. And U-Hauls don't cost a lot of money. Especially the long ones. They don't really cost a lot for the day. Drive out there, yeah, the gas would be there, but other than that, it does make more sense that we would kind of get on top of it. Because I mean, frankly, a 7-ton doesn't have a thing on top of it to cover it up. To drive what we want out there, and then we would have to consider what if we have more than 4 to 5 tons to drive out to Fort Irwin or Camp Penn to get the rest of the work done. So it's something that we can table for now and have another discussion over that committee meeting on the 21st. But let's think about that, because we might really want to think just going U-Haul and going out there. It might be a lot easier.
We'll see, and that's the reason that the fundraising through Krispy Kreme and also, quite frankly, through Tony, and we've also received $100 from other people. We got money coming in. That money would be used to rent the U-Haul truck. So that's
fine enough. I could just speak with Tony and say, hey, here's what I'm looking at. Here's what we want to do, and Tony would be more than happy to do that. Tony and I scratch his back and scratch his mind. Kind of works out that way. I do events for him, and he's more than happy to help veterans and do what they can do for it. And I'd like to say, yes, the most money I'd like to see go back to Patrick, so that we can fly Marines where they need to go. But Lord knows we do need to get the food to these people. And if we have that kind of on hand, I mean, U-Hauls, like I said, I use them often enough. It's not that expensive, and it's actually rather cheap to move something that much. So, especially boxes of food. So we're gonna have to do that. And if we're really looking to push over 4 to 5, we're gonna need them regardless. So that way we know better than what we're doing, especially come September. We'll be a little bit seasoned at it at that point. So let's just think about something of that nature for what we're looking at this moment. This is a hell of a long letter. Okay. This is the food drive committee. That's what we were discussing before, though. And I feel like, Raymond, you could probably sum this up faster than I can read it.
well, I'll just give you that. I'll give you the highlights.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
We have good partnerships developing. We're still developing those partnerships. The flyer is out as well as the social media. We made a mailing of over 550 people with the flyer, and that includes American Legion's posts, VFW halls, about 225 San Dimas businesses, etc. We're going to have Marilyn Sparks, who's the current Chambers president. She received a flyer, and at the next coffee hour is going to have people bring and that's on February 14th, asking for people to bring an item to donate. So she's working with us. We got a $100 donation from Casa del Rey, which is a local business there, which is nice. Now the mailer is a fundraiser. The digital donut campaign has gone off, and it's now working as a fundraiser. We had talked, and Mike was going to talk to you about this. He may not have had the opportunity about doing some kind of a fundraiser there at High Point itself. And let's see, what we need now is I'm working on a press release, and we still need people to volunteer in the different things we're going to be doing that day. So that's what we got going on. Any questions?
Okay, and when you say that you want to talk about different positions being filled the day of actual delivery, is that like drivers versus passengers, like drivers, what are we looking at? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, I know that as an example, on the day of collection, Isabella will be the volunteer wrangler, but we're going to need somebody else also to assist her. That's to keep track of the volunteers.
Hold on, Raymond. One second. Wow, that car was incredibly loud that drove by us right now. And in the alley, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. So go ahead. I'm sorry. And what were you saying?
The volunteer wrangler on the date of the event and on the date that we load up, a transportation manager, which we don't have yet, and that will depend on how we do transportation. A supply manager, someone to make the different, figure out what supplies we're going to need on that day. Somebody now, Mike is taking care of food for volunteers on collection date. I'm going to talk to Patrick for food for volunteers on the delivery date. So, we need to get a sign-up sheet out and start getting our Rotarians to volunteer.
I love that. The idea. I think heavy-handed, though, we do need to be more concerned about what they're doing on the 29 Palm side, because it doesn't take a lot of us to put stuff in a vehicle and drive it over there, because that's a very few people to do said project. But on their end, we do need jarheads to offload said vehicle, because it's exactly what their job is.
Yeah.
And we have those people, then we're going to be good to go, because they're going to need to have it where they want it, because Patrick gets put anything whatever he wants where it is.
Yeah. He will have people out there on that date. And we will take some people out there with us. And we can't have too many people on the collection date or on the load up date. 5 tons of food loading by hand is a lot of food.
Oh,
It really
no,
is. And
absolutely.
I
don't disagree with you on that. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, sorry. I also sent that request out to the Interact Club at San Dimas High School. Let them know that they can get service hours. We can sign that off for them, which is a requirement to graduate. So I'm hoping that we get some of the high school Interact Club out there on collection date to help with the lifting and sorting and boxing.
Which is wonderful. So for what Mike's saying, I assume, is that these are the day of, we need to actually really be concerned about what we have boxed and ready to go versus like perishable versus non-perishable. Because so we got a quad con out there, because they're not going to build a building for us. That's going to be a bit of a nuisance. Plus we have to think about people who can actually go on a base, an actual Marine Corps base, versus can't go on. So that's something to take into consideration also. So what we have on this end, and the age-old supply line, as time has been so kind to when it comes to all wars, we can kind of figure out how to get everybody over there and then actually get on base and then deliver said product to them.
Yeah, what we did last year is, and we'll give this list out well ahead of time. You obviously need a real California ID or a passport to get on the base. And so what'll happen is the morning of Monday, the morning of the delivery date, we will write down all the names of the volunteers and their ID numbers. We'll then email that at 7 o'clock or 7:30 in the morning out to Patrick, who will take it down to the front gate and get everyone authorized. We then drive out the 29 Palms the same way we did. We meet at the DMV, and then we go in as a convoy. And so the front gate is informed of who's coming, what vehicles we're in, and then they'll just inspect the IDs and they let us through it. It went really smoothly last year. So that's what we anticipate doing again this year.
Well, it's fantastic. Absolutely, absolutely. Exactly. Obviously, the only things we have to take into consideration is anyone with like a federal limits and so on and so forth, because they obviously have a little bit more of a problem getting on.
Well, nobody with well, I don't know if anybody's a felon, but yeah, don't bring a gun and don't be a felon, be nice. Yeah.
Fair
Agreed.
enough. Fair enough. So just things to take into consideration, but you and Mike are, well, I'm assuming Glenn, weren't you there last year also? So then Mike and Raymond, those are the guys that, I just went on there, but then again, I was, employed by the federal government, so I don't really know anything different. So, all right, then I will speak with Marilyn about the coffee hour and how everything else goes. And I look forward to everything we have going here, because it looks like Mike is in charge of it all. So, Mike, wonderful job. You're doing great, kid. Keep it up. All right, so with that said, we're looking at Wednesday, February 8th at 12 p.m. We do have our board meeting, and all members are welcome to attend. And then with that said, February 15th at 12, same meeting with a speaker. What is it? Jack Mersa? On February 12th, anybody? It's the Toastmaster experience.
Yes, the Toastmaster experience.
Right, but it's Jack Mersa. Mercia. We'll say that. That's what we're gonna go with. Fantastic. And later in the day, we'll have at 6 o'clock here at this meeting, we'll have Speaker Kelly Hall, the president of Homeless Military Veterans, which I'm very excited to hear more about. That is a topic that I find just fascinating. And then we'll have on February 21st, from 6 to 7, the 29 Palms Resupply Food Drive Committee. It's the last meeting before we actually do the actual food drive, which would be most advantageous for most of us to attend, so we can really see what's going on. And with that says, Matt, I have a big old red letters right here, which could be the 11th, it could be the 13th, it now sounds. Saturday, March 11th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., 29 Palms Resupply Food Drive. But if we look at something like a 7-ton, it looks like it might be a later date. So we'll keep ourselves abreast of that. The food drop, it looks like, Sunday, Monday, March 12th or 13th, to be determined. Food drop at 2-9. So we're gonna have still the resupply, and that's gonna be at the Masonic Lodge. Okay, so perfect. Masonic Lodge on the 11th, that Saturday, 9 to 3. So excited about that.
The reason we're keeping the drop-off date could be the 12th or the 13th. If the Marine Corps Reserves do it, it would be the 12th because it would be a drill weekend.
Right.
If we have to go with our civilian horsepower, we'll do it on Monday, the 13th. So that's, we don't know yet which the drop-off will be, but the collection date is March 11th.
Got it. So no matter what, that's going to be at the Masonic Lodge, March 11th. All of us will be there with bells on.
And I got a call today from a church in Diamond Bar that did a food drive for us, and they wanted to drop off a bunch of food at High Point, and I waved them off of that and told them that, the food drive's in March. We appreciate your excitement. Hold on to it. And so there's all kinds of people are excited about doing this.
Which is fantastic. I can tell you right now, not on this area, but on this side, I have a bunch of children, clothes and whatnot hanging out. Mike can tell you that in what is the basement of his building, which is very wonderfully creepy. He has a bunch of stuff in there also when we picked up in Chino Hills also. So yes, the more things we can kind of hold off on and then come on that particular day will be wonderful for us. So with that said, we do have our 408 test. And because someone showed up late tonight, but we love them all the same. Austin Hill, here you are, being able to say tonight that you are here, made the meeting. Rotary 408 test right here. Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. So you all know the 408 test. The test asks the following questions of things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Can we hear each other now?
Go ahead.
1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.
Fantastic. That's our 408 test for the evening. Mike almost got it, but to be fair, he is driving. So I'm not gonna give him a hard time. And there's a bell going off. That's weird. Okay, so with that said, we do have our now closing remarks. We did hit our food drive points, which is what we wanted to do. I'm excited about them. Apparently, we do need to, as been pointed out to me, our food drive flyer. Something is wrong about it, but I'm not sure what that is. The PO box is wrong on it, but that's all right. We'll get that done instead of 917, it's 713, but we'll get that taken care of. With that said, I'm excited about everything that's going out to be able to raise up food and or money for what we're looking for. Let's see. It does seem like it's going rather well. Like I said, we do have to consider what we did talk about before, though, which was, like I said, if we do exceed 4, it's 4 tons, or is it 5 tons at 2.9 that we can actually do, Raymond?
You know what? I think we can make room for whatever we get.
You say that, but what if we end up with 7?
You know what? Then, well, yeah, we do have a plan, actually. If we end up with too much, let's say we end up with 7 tons, then what we'll be doing is dropping off a ton at the Salvation Army food bank in Ontario, which services the entire San Gabriel Valley from the 605 out to the 15. It serves 3,000 families a week and about 1,000 homeless lunches every day. And so if we have too much, it will still go to people who need it because, we can't save it for next time. We don't have a place for it.
I think this is something that we need to table till our next conversation, but unfortunately, I have to disagree with the idea that we would drop it off at the Salvation Army. I'm sorry, I don't see that people would want to donate to the military families would want to donate to the Salvation Army. If they were going to do that no matter what. And I think that we have Fort Irwin. I do understand that Camp Penn does much better. And I know that's a much further drive. But I think it's hard to make that same idea of I'm donating to the military, like the E1 to E5 families. I just don't see the Salvation Army. I'm sorry, I just don't see that people can say, well, I'm happy with donating to the people of Ontario. That's not a knock against them. But as an overall, it feels like we might alienate some of our people who want to donate because they would like to know that they're donating to military families.
Well, again, you have to listen to the question that you asked me. Okay. The question you asked me is, what would we do if we had too much food for Patrick to take in? Okay. I don't think we will reach that. I'm not that concerned. However, the solution is rather than let the food go to waste, because we don't have a contact in Fort Irwin, and we just can't call Fort Irwin on a Monday and go, we'd like to come over and give you a ton of food. The solution will be to take the food that is excess to the needs of the service and go to the Salvation Army so it is not wasted. That will give us then some more information about the next time we do this in September. Maybe what we do is instead of doing it twice a year, we're looking at doing it every 9 months. We're still working this out. So the question you asked me was, if Patrick can't take it, what do we do on that day? Well, here's the solution.
You're right. I appreciate that answer. I do. But if I were to contact Fort Irwin now and say, hey, I had an excess of food.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now that we don't have the capacity, human capacity to do that.
Okay. That's
if
all I
you,
need to know.
if you want to go, if there's people in your club who want to step up and make contact with Fort Irwin and begin to develop the contact and start thinking about the transportation route out there now, that's great. I bless you for doing that. But I don't have the time to add Fort Irwin into a thing we're supposed to do in 6 weeks.
All right, fair enough. There's the answer. That's all I needed to hear. Perfect. Understandable. Just had to understand what we would do with it. So, does it mean at that point we could technically take all the perishables to 2-9 and then end up going over that? But that makes sense. Okay, wonderful. Because yeah, no, there's no joke about how far Fort Irwin still is from where we are. That is
And I'm going to tell you
yeah.
that I doubt, even if we brought 7 tons out there, number one is, I don't think Patrick would find a place for it. Believe me.
Okay, that's news to me. From what I had gathered, you folks had said it was 4 to 5, and that was like the maximum we could do.
It was the max for that location, but there's other places out there. It would be a good problem to have.
I agree with you. No, I know you guys did a fantastic job, and I know that you have consistently like reached out even further now. So I'm just trying to think to ourselves, hey, what do we do if that's the case? When we show up that day, like, oh shoot, we have several tons of food, we have to figure something out. But if you're saying that he could find it, then there's no concern about anything else other than that. And that'd be wonderful. But I do see what you're saying. It would be a heck of a turnaround to try to say, what can we do? And if not, say it's just Ontario.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Thank you, Raymond. I appreciate that. So with that said, I think that's everything we have for tonight, unless someone has something else to say. I'm looking at one person. Yes. You got it. You got it. Let's correct it. You got it. All right, wonderful. With that said, I appreciate everything. Thank you so much. Thanks, Mike, for coming on. Raymond, I appreciate the